Hey everybody, back again today to dig into a project on the Camaro. And this one's a repeat of an old one. I'll show you in a moment, but on this car I have the shift plate that goes on below the shifter that shows you what gear you're in, park, neutral, and so forth. And it's a reproduction plate, and the flag that tells you what gear you're in has been an issue. I've had this apart and I've made a couple videos already. And I put it together the first time and hot glued it. I put it together, took it apart and repaired it a second time. Well, my second repair didn't hold either. And so I'm going to pull it apart a third time and see if there's something I can do to make this thing right. So here's the shift plate. This is what I replaced again. And it's really a nice piece, but you can see that it pretty well shows park all right. And now I've got the parking brakes set, and I've got the key, I've got the ignition unlocked. So if you pull it into reverse, so you get almost nothing. And you can see that when I get to neutral, it's in between. When I get to drive, it's in between. What happened was, I had it, I thought, fixed, and the flag has a little plastic plate that is supposed to lock in. After my last fix, I got probably 500 miles before it broke again. Now, in fairness to my fix, I was exercising it, which meant that almost every time out, instead of doing overdrive, I was doing manual shifts and taking it all the way down to manual low. And it seems that when you pull the shift lever all the way back and you want to get to manual low, the angle of the shift lever is kind of this way, as it comes back. And I think it's pushing the plate that drives the flag, I think it's pushing it down instead of pulling it back. That's maybe not quite accurate. I think it's both pulling it back and pushing it down. And so I need to pull this apart and see what's going on. And to pull it apart, I got to take the knob back off and the button and pull out most of these little screws and disassemble it and get it on the bench. Well, I've got the parking brake set so I can take it out of gear, even though the key is not in lock. We'll pull off that knob. This is always kind of the fun part because I got to get my little sharp tools out. Get down inside here and get this snap ring out. You have to expand that ring and get it to come out of its groove. That's the pesky little snap ring, and I just get two sharp tools and I get one in each hole. I've got a couple of snap ring pliers that should grab that, but it's down in there so deep, and I don't have one that fits it very well. So we do that. Lift it off. The knob doesn't fit quite as tight as I'd like, so I've got a little piece of black electrical tape down here that just keeps the knob from rattling around. So anyway, that's where that is. Let's see if we can get some of these screws out of here. Here in the corners. Hopefully the radio isn't going to be in the way too much. Last time I had this apart, I didn't have a radio in the car, so make sure we can clear that. And then I gotta try to remember which ones. You got 4 screws up here, and my memory is that 2 of them really don't. They don't bite into anything. They don't hold anything. They're more cosmetic. Yep, there it is. It's these two that I didn't need. Alright. So now, bring it back about part way. And again, parking brake is set. Wheels are blocked so that the car can't move while it's not in park. We got to get this to lift up out of here. There we go. Oh, and by the way, somehow in the whole process the light bulb had fallen out of where it belonged, and it was had dropped down below. Well, so look at that. Well, that dude's really it really came out of there, and my we'll put it on the bench and get a better look at it. That's disappointing looking. Well, so here's the part sitting on the bench. I don't know why it looks quite so mangled. I mean, it's you know, the pieces come out of off location and gotten misguided. It looks like I was concerned about, bring it up here. You know, this piece is supposed to run down here in this track. I put in a pop rivet to try to hold things in place, and it looks like the pop rivet didn't it partially came apart. It should have gone all the way through both pieces of plastic, and it looks like it did, but it's kind of broken loose. But I don't understand why it folded like this. That's kind of a weird. And it's been like that for a while, it looks like. So to give it a better look, that's the piece that you know, kind of guides, and then that's the flag that you actually see when you move it. And this piece I had hot glued. This one was hot glued to the other piece, and I did have a hole drilled, and the pop rivet broke out of there. There's a lot of stress on that. I don't understand why it's so much, because this piece should be straight. It's really a bizarre. Because that's where it should go. That was where my glue joint was. It should get pushed down. It should look like that. And get pushed all the way forward. But it came out of its track. So it should end up like that. Trying to give you a better look here. See, that piece should sit in the groove like it is right now. And I'm not quite sure how to fix that. Well, I need to contemplate my next move on this, because the answer doesn't seem simple. This part, my assessment is that when the shift lever gets to the back, it's pushing this down, and it's also pushing it sideways and bringing this piece up out of its track. And right now it's bent. Now, I'm not going to be back to the car for a couple of weeks. So I'm going to leave this part off and just leave it sit and see if that plastic will relax and straighten back out again a little bit. The only two choices I see at the moment, one is to grind this out and get some additional clearance, perhaps so that it doesn't want to push sideways as much. Or second, I'm very close to abandoning this flag arrangement. I could pull this black piece out of here, I could cut off this white piece, and slide this flag all the way to the back, like that, so that it's all white, and just do what my other one did, which is wherever the shift lever is next to is the gear you're in, and don't worry about the flag. Because frankly, that's still seems to be pretty accurate. And I've already plugged in the light, and I know that it'll illuminate even if the flag isn't in there. It'll illuminate properly. And so I could maybe take some of this mechanism out and just pin this so that the flag is always at one end and give it a run. Because what's causing trouble right now is that you pull it into overdrive, right? And the lever's here next to D or OD, but the flag's up in neutral and you don't know which gear you're in. And if you didn't have the flag and you're just looking at where the shift lever is, you'd be fine. The fact that the two don't agree is kind of a bad thing. The car, it's winter time, the car's not going out for a while, so I'm going to let this sit and see if the plastic will, like I say, relax, and I'm going to give it a little bit of thought before I go further.